Is 2026 a bad year to build your first PC? Well, building a PC right now does feel tricky. Component prices are up, and some components aren't even in stock. So let's discuss both sides of this question. Should you buy now or wait? Let's stay logical and a bit opinionated, just like the last video, which you can check out if you're confused whether you should buy an 8GB GPU in 2026 or not. And just one more thing. This is not an AI crap channel. I do most of the stuff myself, but this time I'm a little sick, so you'll have to deal with AI voiceovers for some video. Anyways, let's start the topic with current market reality. First, everything's more expensive in early 2026. GPU prices have jumped roughly an average of 15 to 20% in the last few months. Both mid-range and higher-end cards are pricier just compared to 3 months ago. And why? Well, there's a global DRAM shortage, which is driving prices up like crazy for normal consumers. Similarly, CPU roadmaps are quiet. Intel plans only minor Arrow Lake refreshes in 2026, with the big new Nova Lake desktop CPUs landing late 2026 or even into 2027. AMD's next Ryzen, Zen 6, also seems to slip into 2027. Both companies admit consumer CPU shortages right now, meaning prices and availability are worse than usual and might go even worse. Now, Big Daddy RAM. This is a big one because DDR5 RAM has tripled in price recently. A 16GB DDR5 kit that was approximately $60 in late 2025 can be $200 plus now. That means even if you find a good GPU deal, the RAM alone can break your budget. There are even shortages of NVMe SSDs now, as these chips also get diverted to data centers, similar to RAM and GPUs. Other parts, such as motherboards, cases, PSUs, etc., haven't risen as sharply, but everything else is in flux. Dell, HP, and other brands have started warning about higher system prices due to these shortages. So, in a nutshell, 2026's PC parts market is inflated and tight. But now, moving on, why you might build now. With all that gloom, is there any upside to building in 2026? Well, there are a few points you should consider. No new hardware means no need to wait for performance. If NVIDIA, AMD, or Intel announced a major upgrade this quarter, you could argue, hold on, but they haven't. Since no next-gen PC parts are due in 2026, the performance ceiling is already set. This year's GPUs and CPUs are what you'll have for a while. So in a sense, waiting longer only delays your enjoyment, without any guarantee of much better specs or pricing. At least I can guarantee prices aren't going anywhere down in the next 1 year at the bare minimum. In fact, prices might increase even more. Existing components can still be quite capable. Even on higher settings, current mid-tier hardware often handles 1080p and even 1440p gaming well. Consider that many gamers still play at 1080p resolution. At 1080p high or 1440p medium settings, many titles run fine on 8GB cards. Game upscalers like NVIDIA DLSS and AMD FSR are mature now and help a lot. So if you don't need 4K Ultra or max settings at 100 plus frames per second in story games, a 2024/2025 GPU will probably be good enough for your first build. Especially if you see today's released Resident Evil Requiem, you can get roughly 60 plus frames per second at 1080p high. That too, without DLSS. And if you tune settings, you can even get 80 plus. As you can see in the benchmark done by Kriz, I'll link his video in the description and you can check the whole video out. He's arguably the best benchmarker, so you can trust his benchmarks without a doubt. Back to the topic. A PC isn't an investment that appreciates, it's a tool to use. If you keep delaying, you just sit without a PC. If you have tasks or games to play now, building can make sense. At least you'll start getting value out of your machine immediately. Personally, I wouldn't want to wait forever. Better to build now and upgrade later if needed. Also, I'm planning to build soon as well, so if you want to see what specs I'll be going for, you can leave a comment, which will help me know if it's actually worth my effort to create that video. Moving on, possible deals and bundles. In this weird market, some sellers are bundling parts or pushing older stock. You might find a CPU plus RAM bundle that slightly offsets the high RAM cost, or a used market deal on a second-hand GPU. If a sale or clearance appears, your purchasing power could be better later in 2026. But you can also watch for promotions now. Maybe grab a GPU kit or bundle at a small discount. If you are going to buy anyways, why not save some bucks? Okay, but now we are done with why you might build now. Let's see the downsides of actually building a PC this year. First, you are paying a premium for older tech, though just a year old, but still old. It's not something super fresh in the market. Every part you buy now will cost more than it should. That overpriced RAM and GPU will affect your build as well. Let's say a year ago you decided you would save up and build a PC in 2026. You probably saved a budget according to those cheaper prices. But now that those prices have increased a lot, you'll either have to cut down on the specs you wanted. Let's say you were going for 32 gigabytes of RAM, a Ryzen 7, and a 5070. But now that RAM prices are so messed up, it'll eat at least a decent 10% of your budget. So now you've got to either spend more for the same components you were planning to buy, or downgrade either the CPU or GPU, as you can't really save much by downgrading the cabinet or PSU. Also, new budget GPUs might not be coming. But remember that 2027 will have new chips. For instance, if you wait until late 2026 or early 2027, you could build on Intel's new platform or AMD's next Ryzen. Those could offer decent gains. Even if you don't upgrade immediately, their arrival may cause current-gen parts to drop in price, though I don't expect anything significant. But if a 5 to 10% performance gain matters to you, you might prefer to hold off. Also, the future-proofing part. As I said, if you don't increase your budget, your only option would be to downgrade. And let's say you downgrade your GPU today. It might mean you have to dial back settings sooner. By 2027, games will demand more VRAM and features. If you only build with, say, 8 gigabytes VRAM now, like a 5060 instead of a 5060 Ti 16 gigabytes, then you might hit a performance wall in just a couple of years. And if you downgrade your CPU, let's say instead of going with AM5 you go with AM4, you'll lose the AM5 you go with AM4. You'll lose the biggest benefit of AMD, which is upgradability. Let's be real, AM4 is dead now. No major CPUs will launch for it, while AM5 will still keep getting the latest CPUs, which you can upgrade to without upgrading RAM or motherboard. So, what's the logical choice? It depends on your situation and use case. So let's break down 3 typical scenarios. First, you are a casual user or budget builder who doesn't have a setup and needs it for office work and casual gaming, like a few hours a week. Building in 2026 could be fine. Choose a mid-range GPU, like a 5060 or 9060 class, and a decent but lower mid-range CPU. Yes, you'll pay more than last year, but a quality 1080p plus gaming experience is still achievable. You can save money by reusing existing RAM or SSD if you have any, or starting with 16 gigabytes and upgrading later. The performance gains over an old laptop will feel significant for casual gaming or media. Also, if you can get your hands on a good laptop deal, you might as well consider that. Yes, you won't get that beautiful thick PC, but you will genuinely save some money and headache. They are quite handy and powerful as well. So building now isn't a disaster. Just know that you probably won't play on maxed out ultra settings 2 to 3 years down the line, which is fine for most casual users, I guess. Now, the hardcore gamer or power-hungry user who already has a PC or workstation. If you're already pushing your current system by gaming 30+ hours a week at medium to high settings, building now is less attractive. You might regret not waiting for a stronger card. In this case, consider waiting or compromising. If you must build now, focus your budget on the GPU. Get the highest VRAM you can afford, like a 16GB 5060 Ti or similar at the very least, and buy a cheaper CPU. Most likely a 60, heck, even 70 series card won't be bottlenecked by a 7600 or 9600X realistically. But if you can wait 12 months, you could maybe buy RAM at a lower price and a newer CPU, or catch some deals on used hardware. It's not guaranteed that prices will go down in a year, but remember, we are considering that you already have a PC and you are not a millionaire. If you are, then yes, buy a top-tier card at double the price if you want a game at 1440p or 4K. But otherwise, if you are a normal, not-so-rich person, Remember, gaming is not that important. But what about those who want it for work? Well, honestly, if you are making money from your PC, definitely buy right away, because at least you can get the parts now and start earning. If you are just a person wanting an upgrade, I would honestly suggest waiting, unless you can't even game at 1080p medium settings with 60+ FPS in story games. But with that being said, let's talk about gamers who are dying to build their first PC. Honestly, in short, I'll say just build it, man. This time won't come back. So stop thinking only about saving some bucks and start using your PC. Just don't focus too much on future-proofing or what's going to release in the future. That way you'll never enjoy what you have. Just focus on what's the best you can get without chasing fancy stuff and killing your wallet. And you'll love this decision 5 years down the line. And now I feel I just wrote too much and this video is going to be longer than anticipated. So that will wrap up this video. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye.